Welcome back to the Patrick Reagan Show. A little symphony of destruction there from Megadeth for you hard rockers out there. We're here on the Libertarian Lighthouse Radio Network and News Talk 98.7 WOKI. Starting off this segment, I want to ask you a quick question. Why is it you can have a border between two countries and one country does so much better than the other one? For example, East and West Germany had a border right through the city of Berlin, and one side did much better than the other. They were the same people, Germans, on either side of that border. A lot of times, same families. But there were stark differences between the two sides of that city. Same people, same town, different outcomes. What was the difference between the two sides? The political leadership, the government. That's the difference. Look at America. We've had a very successful 20th century, but it seems as if we've hit a snag. We've hit some rocks coming into the bay. And incidentally, that's where this radio show and the Libertarian Lighthouse Radio Network come in. We're providing that lighthouse to guide you past those rocks and back into the safety of the Bay of Freedom and Liberty. So, yes, I'm working in a plug there. So we've hit this little snag in our economy. We can't seem to get things turned around and moving again. Why is that? It's because our government has been sucking up all the resources and squandering them in this massive, inefficient government machine. Just look at all the technological talent that's been siphoned away into government just to spy on you. All of these smart people who are using their talents to chip away at the freedom and liberty of their fellow citizens. Not to mention all the money being wasted in government. Money that could be used by you to buy things you want or need. But you can't because you had to send that money to government through taxes and fees and fines. All throughout history, government, or what's passed for government, used to be made up of people who wanted to be in charge of the country pretty much to enrich themselves, to take the country's riches for themselves and their friends, reap the spoils, so to speak, of a country by being the people in charge. You still see this all around the world. Governments who live high on the hog while their citizens barely scrape by. The people in power are enjoying all of the benefits of the resources of the country while the population gets hardly anything. But in this country, in America, the government was supposed to only have barely enough to get by, and the people possessed all of the money and riches of the country. All of that was supposed to be in private hands. All the power, the money, the freedom, the liberty was supposed to be retained by the people of this nation. Practically spells it out in our Constitution. Remember, the Constitution isn't to give the people rights, to give us permissions to do certain things. The Constitution is a restriction on government. It's supposed to severely limit the power of the government, only giving it certain limited permissions to carry out certain limited duties that we as citizens didn't want to take care of ourselves. What's happened over the last 100 years or so is the government's been getting out of control. The government has decided to take the resources of the people of this country and use them for them itself. Did you know right now the federal government owns nearly 650 million acres of land? That's almost 30% of the land area of the United States. Nevada is almost 90% federally owned land. Alaska is 3/4 federally owned. This is in America. This is the American government owning the natural resources of the American people. The government has grabbed land, grabbed cash, grabbed gold, grabbed business and technology talent, and now it's grabbing your freedom and liberty. Can you imagine how far along we would be with things like the internet and other technology if the government wasn't sucking up the talent our schools turn out? If they weren't wasting their time violating our constitutional rights by spying on us? This is why a whole lot of people are starting to describe this government as a tyranny. It's taking power from the people of this country and using it to benefit itself and those it employs. Did you know one of the fastest growing segments of our society, employment-wise, is government? It's also one of the highest paid. Government. Government people making more money than people in the private sector. Now, how is that right? And God forbid the people of this country push back to demand the country stop spending up all the money and our resources. What happens when we do that? They shut everything down. The government tries to make it as hard on the citizens as it can. And instead of getting mad at the government, we get mad at the people trying to hold it to account. Well, why is that? Well, because, Patrick, those people doing that aren't on my team. Almost every one of these senators who were around during the Bush years complained about all the spending by the federal government, complained about the debt limit being raised over and over. And all their loyal cult followers did the same. What are the marching orders being sent down by the party's chiefs? Oh, yeah, well, that's what I believe, too. Whatever they tell me to believe, that's what I believe. Too much spending during Bush. Too much murdering of innocent people around the world through drone attacks. Too much violating of international law and natural human rights. All of that during the Bush years. Oh, that was bad. But Obama's doing the same things. Heck, even greatly exceeding what Bush did. And the Obama cultists are more than happy to let it go on. Because, you see, it's our guy. He's from our party. So whatever he does must be the right thing to do. You ever see these same people, the ones that are the most smug? They think they're the most intellectual. They're the ones that everyone wants to quote. They want to say, so-and-so said this, or I saw this person on the news and they said what Obama was doing is legal, so I agree with it. They're the smartest in the room, but they're the ones who follow the cult leaders of these two parties around like sheep. They may have advanced degrees, but they don't have any common sense, nor backbones. It's all about supporting their team. That's why I say here on this radio show, we don't support any team other than the human one. We fight for the rights of human beings no matter where they live. Everyone deserves to be free. Everyone deserves to be left alone. I don't care if you're white, black, brown, yellow, short, tall, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, green, or confused. If government was minding its own business and staying out of ours, it wouldn't matter at all. Everyone would be treated the same. You might say, Patrick, why does government want to tell us what to do in the first place? Why do they feel like they need to? Well, that's a good question. Why would they feel like they need to tell us what to do? Or let me put that a better way. Why would you feel like you need to tell someone else what to do? It's because either you don't think they're capable of telling themselves what to do or making themselves what to do something, or you don't think they're doing what they should be doing. It's one of those two things. These people in Washington don't say to themselves, well, we're going to do this because we're mean people. Now, there's probably a few in government who think that way, but it's a very, very small percentage. Most people aren't that way. Most people aren't purposely mean to other people. So again, why would they want to tell others how to live? Well, it's the same reason I just gave you for personally doing it. Either you think the people of this nation are capable, or you don't think the people of this nation are capable of doing something, or you think they should, but they aren't. In both cases, you think people aren't making the correct decisions in how they lead their lives. Correct decisions meaning correct in your eyes. You see it as a correct decision. That doesn't actually make it a correct one, just the one you decided was correct. So since people aren't acting in the way the government wants them to, it passes laws and regulations requiring it. And if you don't obey, government will fine or even imprison you, all because it deems you aren't acting like you should. You have to be treated like a child. The government doesn't treat you like an adult, doesn't even respect you like one. If it did, it wouldn't bother trying to tell you how to live. Keep in mind this whole time, you aren't hurting anyone else. You aren't infringing on another person's rights. You aren't even acting in the way, or you just aren't acting in the way the government wants you to act. That's it, nothing more. Does this put government intrusiveness, does this put that in a different light for you? That maybe it isn't any of the government's business what you're doing? You don't have any right to impose your will on another person, whether you be an individual or government. Makes no difference. All right, we're up on the half-hour break of the Patrick Riggins Thanksgiving weekend extravaganza. In the next half hour, I have something for everyone out there thinking that maybe it's time to throw in the towel, that this country's already lost. It's just too far gone to bother. That and more when we come back here for the second half hour of the Patrick Riggins Show on the Libertarian Lighthouse Radio Network.